Hello, everyone. Welcome to the United Stands. We're live. It's Sunday Night Live. Got the crew back. We've got Kev, Ricky, and Beth. How are we all doing?
Really good, mate. Fine.
I'm good, thank you.
Good. Lots to talk about tonight. I know that a few people want to get into the Martial subject because I saw Ricky's tweet. It was brought to my attention about how he was the best player on the pitch last Wednesday. But there's a few things I want to talk about because ultimately, from when we spoke last, we were top of the league. We're feeling confident. Lose to Sheffield United, draw with Arsenal. And I think there's a lot of things to address. Is Ollie facing an identity crisis? Has he hit his ceiling? Is it just a blip? Does he need more signings? What's his best 11? So many things to talk through, as well as individual things like Van der Beek, like Martial, like Rashford, like Bruno, like what's the best 11? But I suppose the best place to start with, and we'll start with you, Beth, tonight. What are you feeling about United now? I mean, what is our, I suppose the thing that comes to my mind when I think about the first question I want to ask everyone is, what Solskjaer got to do? He's got Southampton on Tuesday. He's got Everton on Saturday. They're both teams that could cause us problems. They're both coached very, very well. What does Solskjaer do with this team at the moment? Because there's a few issues with it.
He's got to go out and try and dominate both games, play on the front foot, play an attacking lineup. Everyone's got to be well drilled. They've got to have a well drilled shape. They've got to be trying to make runs. There's got to work on chemistry and training. There's a lot of things that needs to be worked on, but the main thing that needs to be worked on is I want the players to go out in them games, and I want them to go out like a side that is in a title race. You want to be that. You don't want to be going out there playing defensive football, trying to kind of hold back. Not everyone going out on the attack. So obviously you get people isolated like Bruno, Rashford. He's got to work on patterns of play. And if I was Ollie, I would bring in Van der Beek for that game to get some possession, play some quick football, because our main problem at the minute is it's so slow and static that we really do have trouble getting up the pitch. I know there was a few chances at the weekend, but I think it was 3 big chances created the whole game. I don't think that's enough for a side that has the quality of players that we have and is in the position that we're in. I think we've got to be going to these games more dominant, with more confidence, and going at them and intimidating them.
We've had 24 hours, Kev, to reflect on the 2 results. Obviously, Sheffield United, I'm sure I listened to the fan forum the other night. I know what you said about that. But the result last night, what's your feelings on it now, 24 hours later, on where we're at? Have you got concerns? Do you think we're ready to go on another big run again?
As a United fan, obviously, you would hope, and we are capable of going on a run. But I do think we've kind of been brought back to earth this last week. Sheffield United was an absolute shocking performance. Even if we look back to the Liverpool game, I think a lot of us agreed it was 2 points dropped. The fact that Liverpool were playing with 2 central midfielders as centre-backs, what an opportunity to go to Anfield and get the 3 points. And for me, again, yesterday, Arsenal had 3 of their best players missing. It's an opportunity missed. However you look at it, you can say whatever you want. In years gone by, this would have been a good result. But that was when United and Arsenal were both going for the title, which is not happening anymore. But for Man United, we've gone there, and I'm disappointed. I really am. Now, the book doesn't stop with Solskjaer. You have to look at that yesterday, and you could really say the same about the Liverpool game. We had massive chances to win that game. You look at the Pogba chance, the Fernandes chance against Liverpool, exactly the same yesterday. Cavani missed 2 really, really big chances, and Bruno Fernandes as well. That one where
Rashford as well in the first half when he did us on it, yeah.
Exactly. So it is fine lines. We could be speaking about something totally different if them goals go in. So I don't think we can just say it's all on Solskjaer. Yes, he picks a team and puts it out there, but my thoughts on yesterday is 2 points dropped. I really felt that we could have really gone for them and got something out of that game.
Ricky, Kev says 2 points dropped there. What were your thoughts? I mean, just to add in a little bit, I was the same as Kev, and then I watched Match of the Day last night, and I was like, Cavani has got to score one of those chances. And I read something today against the traditional top 6 this season, apart from the 6-1 against Spurs. And I had to laugh because I saw quite a big media company saying Bruno's only got 1 goal against the top 6 this season, and it's a penalty. And I replied and went, Man United have only got 1 goal against the top 6 this season. So is Bruno now Manchester United? It seems like, it is. But yeah, apparently we've got 1 goal against those top 6 sides this season.
Yeah, I'm not obviously, we haven't approached every game in the same manner, have we? You know what I mean? So I'm not so sure it's about how we approach the game. I mean, if you think about it, I know we started with McTominay in the middle yesterday, and Pogba had to shift into the middle in the end. But we still, we finished up after was it about 35 minutes? McTominay went off. We've got Rashford on the right wing. We've got Martial on the left. We've got Cavani at number 9. We've got Bruno at number 10. And we've got an attacking midfield player as well, a creative midfield player in Pogba. When people say go for it, I don't know really how much more they can go for it. I know, you can easily say, well, maybe they should play a bit further up. Maybe they should try a few more things. But, they have got to, the wingers, for example, they can't just stay up. They have got to track the fullbacks. You're in danger of getting beat 2 or 3-0 if they don't track the fullbacks. So I'm not too sure how much more they could go. When I look at a lineup, and decide, are they going for it or are they not going for it? As much as you might say to Rashford, and I know Martial only came on after 35 minutes, but as much as you might say to Rashford and Martial, you've got to track the fullbacks. They're still both supposed to be really brilliant attacking talents, aren't they? Cavani's supposed to be one of the best number 9s in Europe. And then obviously everybody knows what everybody thinks about Bruno. So when you've got all those players in your team, plus Pogba, how much more do you want to go for it? Do you know what I mean?
The problem was, though, is that the wingers, Bruno, Pogba, even Cavani, they were all dropping deep. And then when Pogba, Fred or Bruno did have the ball, no one was making really any runs or no one was moving into space.
That might be the case. That might be the case. But if that is the case, that's not, well, I was about to say it's not the manager's fault. The manager has certainly not told them not to make any runs. The manager has certainly not told them don't try and get in the box and get on the end of a cross. So even though it's the manager's job to make sure they do the right things, if they're not doing the right thing, they need to be dragged off. Do you know what I mean? So it's not about the approach. It's not about the manager's approach. Trust me.
I think yesterday.
Yeah, but I think it's about the manager's approach because he's got to change it if it's not going the way that he wants. At the end of the day, it was 0-0 and we're getting battered in the second half, and he didn't change it. That is kind of that's on him. If we're not looking likely to score in the second half, and you want to win that game, you've got to make the substitution to try and win.
We did look like scoring in the second half, Beth, didn't we?
I don't think we looked likely enough to comfortably win that game. I really don't think.
I think Arsenal. I think Arteta made a change at half time, taking Martinelli off and bringing Willian on to nullify Wan-Bissaka, and it worked. And I think second half they were. I thought first half we were just about the better team. Second half we weren't, and I wanted to ask everyone about this because I had a bit of a moan on my match reaction last night about Van der Beek, and I said tomorrow morning I would go in to Ollie's office and I'd say, hold on a minute, why am I here? Like, what am I doing at this football club? Because I've just watched Marcus Rashford play 2 shit games. I've seen Martial play a bad game, and you still bring him on ahead of me. I see a team that's struggling for creativity for half an hour against Arsenal, and I'm sat here like a prat on, just warming up, talking to Odegaard, who we know from Holland. And I'm like, you could almost put that towards Dan James, Juan Mata, any other player on the bench. He seems really reluctant. And even Greenwood coming on for Rashford, I was like, well, we've tried Greenwood off the right-hand side. And I know he's a match winner, but 10 minutes ain't long enough. And Rashford was blatantly not good enough in that game for me. So I just wanted to put it all three. I'll go to you, Kev, on this one first. I mean, we're moving into 2 games we've got to win, really. And I know people talk about title races. I don't really care about the title race. I'm looking behind us now. I'm looking at the top 4 race. We've got to win. These are 2 teams that aren't far off us. Is there an issue with Solskjaer and his favouritism towards certain players? I mean, even McTominay yesterday, every time he passed the ball, he was doubling up for 20 minutes. And I was like, am I the only one seeing this, that he needs to come off? And he was like he was waiting for the Imodium to kick in or something. It's like, he doesn't seem to want to make changes. And I want Solskjaer to succeed. I think everyone does. But I've got to say, over the last few games, I've observed it. he doesn't want to make changes from those core 11 players that he's got. And if he does it like, I think it was it Sheffield United? He brought Van der Beek and Shaw on with about 10 minutes to go as well. It's just not
less
long
than
enough.
10 minutes. It was like 7 minutes, I think it was. Like, how are you supposed to make an impact in that time? Even Solskjaer himself has said you need 20 minutes as a sub to make your impact. But he never makes like crucial subs until it past the 80th minute at least, and then it's too far gone. And usually it happens once the other opposition have scored as well, which is the even worse part about it. The thing is, like, don't get me wrong, I genuinely do think Solskjaer has brought on his team so much, and we are in a position we didn't think we would be now. But you can also criticise a manager when you think there's even more potential for the team to go to and where you think the team should be at. And over the last few weeks, even though we've been winning I don't really think the way we've been playing has been that sustainable. I've been saying it with Flex on the fan cams. Getting that goal, like that one goal win in like the last 10 minutes of the game, going behind, it isn't sustainable. And we've started to get found out over the last few games. But hopefully it is just a blip and Solskjaer can work it out. But you can criticise a manager, but also think he's done well and want him to go on to improve the team as well.
And what a great opportunity yesterday. You knew McTominay was struggling, so you think, right, he's coming off. And I don't know what you thought, but as a United fan sat there at home, I'm thinking, this is Van der Beek's opportunity to man for man replace McTominay here. We're not playing against a team, the Arsenal of the old days, Vieira, some kind of physical team. Van der Beek could have walked into the middle of the park yesterday and done a brilliant job, just as good as what McTominay will ever do. But for some reason, I really did not understand bringing on Martial at that time, because he obviously dropped him yesterday for that game. I don't care what anyone says. I didn't think he played well against Sheffield United. I thought there's a reason he was left out. So then to bring him on after 35 minutes, I know he's tweaked the team or whatever, but what does Van der Beek have to do to get into this team?
It shows really that I think that sub yesterday was basically Solskjaer saying, like, you're literally bottom of the pile. Like, I don't see you as a first teamer whatsoever. I don't see you as a player that's going to do it for me. I genuinely don't, because that, like you said, that was literally a perfect opportunity. In my head, I was like, it's going to be either Van der Beek or Matic. Please be Van der Beek. And he brought on Martial. It was such a weird change to make when you've got the Dutch international who has been good every time he's got an opportunity. It baffles me, honestly does.
I disagree. I don't think it's about him being bottom of the pile. I mean, I don't know what your thoughts are, Ricky, because I don't know whether you've got Dan round tonight, but I know you're a big fan of Dan James, and I do think that, like, when it comes to Dan James, I've watched 2 United games recently where both our wingers have offered very little. That's not 180 minutes. That's 360 minutes, because that's 90 minutes from each of those wingers. Rashford was poor against Sheffield United. He was dreadful yesterday. People are talking about Diallo getting on the bench. I mean, I agree Diallo should be on the bench, but Dan James has sat on the bench for 2 games with creativity off the wing, minimal, and he's not used him. I mean, I'd throw the same question, Ricky, as well, about Van der Beek as well, but to me, I sort of disagree with Beth that they're down the pile. They're on the bench. That's what a bench is for. It's always what a bench has been for. And the funny thing is, that's what Solskjaer was for as a player. He was the player you chuck on with 20 minutes to go to try and change it up. He scored 4 goals against Forest off the bench. But as a coach, Solskjaer seems to be locked into this favouritism thing. I've got to keep Rashi on. I've got to keep him on because he might score a goal in the last minute. He might be crap for all game, but he doesn't seem to want to use his subs.
You comment about Dan James. I do think, I do like wingers, and Dan James is a winger. No matter what you think about him as a footballer, and he couldn't play anywhere else, could he? He is a winger. Yeah. I don't really think Rashford's. But what I like a winger to do is try and get past the fullback and get the ball in the box from
we're crying out for it.
From somewhere near the dead ball line. Now, whether he's good at it or not, at least he tries to do that. You know what I mean? And sometimes he does do it well as well, by the way. It's not always terrible. But Martial, even my favourite player, it's not what he tries to do when he's on the wing. He tries to play balls into people and get it back off them and then drift in field with the ball. Greenwood, when he's on the other flank, always wants to drift in and add a shot. Now, Rashford, I can't work Rashford out at all. When he plays on the left, he tries to cut in to have a shot, But now that he's playing on the right, have you noticed there's often a bit of green grass behind the fullback? He's supposed to be rapid. I never see him knock it past that fullback. About 3 times yesterday, I'm going to do a thread on it tomorrow. About 3 times yesterday, he drifts infield into the crowd, even when he's on the right, which I don't get.
But you're right, though. He doesn't do it off the left, does he? Because he don't want to do it.
No. So he's not particularly strong on his left foot, but he's still drifting into the crowd from the right. He needs to try and get down that line and get the ball over. So
he's drifting to shoot, though. It's his instinct, isn't it?
Yeah. But all of of all our wingers, only Dan James really is a natural winger. I'm not saying now. You mentioned James first, but I'm not suggesting for 1 minute that he needs to be in the starting lineup every week. But I will say this: as an actual winger, I don't think there's anything to choose between him and anybody else who we play on the wing. Do you know what I mean?
And you know,
I was surprised yesterday. Go on, Kev.
Sorry, they picked up. I was reading earlier that Solskjaer, they picked up on the cameras. Obviously, there's no crowd there or anything. That Solskjaer actually shouted to Rashford early on in the game. I'm not sure who he was on about, but he said, "Run at him. He's shit. He can't defend."
Yeah, I heard that yesterday.
They picked up on the cameras. So whoever Rashford was up against, obviously Solskjaer had spotted that. But
he was on a yellow card as well. It was that Cedric. He was on a yellow card really early, wasn't he?
But the point is, for the rest of the match, he never followed that instruction. Can anybody remember Rashford trying to go, to go at him and take him on?
Well, just before he was took off, I don't know whether anyone saw it. I mean, I was doing the watch along and he had it on the right-hand side and he was right on the far side of the penalty box. It wasn't a shooting angle at all. And Cavani's made the run to the back post and he shoots. And I went, oh, bloody hell, get him off. I've had enough. And actually, he did just take him off after that. So it sort of cooled my mood because it was like, but it's like, I thought, as bad as Martial was on Wednesday, in my opinion, and we'll talk about that in a bit because I know Ricky has a different opinion. I thought yesterday, when you look at a game where you've lost to Sheffield United and you want your players to bounce back, I think some players did bounce back. But Rashford's a United lad, and he didn't bounce back. He went flatter. And I do agree with Ricky on that. I don't know what you think. I think that just for 20 minutes against their left back who's on a yellow card, Dan James is not going to cut inside off that right wing. It might not work, but what he will try and do is he'll hit the ball past him and try and run at him. And I'm like, we're crying out for it. The best 2 chances, and correct me if I'm wrong, the best 2 chances were Cavani's. One was across from Luke Shaw, and I think the other one was from Wan-Bissaka. So the fullbacks are providing the 2 best chances, and neither winger can do that.
And there was a massive chance. I mean, what could have been a game-changing chance was the one where Rashford, and again, this is where it comes out of Rashford's final thought process. This is the one thing that lad just needs to identify and work out. When he decided to hit that ball and he hit the side netting, the top of the netting, you had Cavani next to him. And again, it was like the Anfield one, where he could have slipped Cavani in, runs along the halfway line, down a blind alley. Cavani turns to the bench and says, "What is this lad doing?" I thought it was the same yesterday.
He does it 3 times a game. I watch Cavani. When a cross isn't good, I look at Cavani. And you're right, Kev. He's always turning around and going, bloody hell. But there was one for Bruno as well. He ran towards the box right in the first half. And Bruno's on the right-hand side. And he could have passed it. And he waited a little bit long. And then he passed it. And then it's not in Bruno's stride. And nothing happened from it. But we're crying out for a winger. We're crying out for a winger big time.
Big time, yeah.
That's the thing, though. When he literally had the open, well, not an open net, but when he had like the full net to shoot at, he was on his left foot, but then he passes it into Bruno, a weird pass to make. He should have shot that. It's like he does the opposite thing to what he should be doing. His final decision really needs work, but he can beat a man. He's against Liverpool when we played in the cup. I thought he played really well. I thought, Rashford's coming back into form. He's going to be good for us. But he's tailed off a bit recently.
Does anyone think? Well, let's just get into this, Beth. You can start off. I love Rashford. I think he's got to go up a level. I think we all know that. I love Rashford. I think he's a fantastic player. But I've said it for a while. There's something not right. And I don't know what it is. And I'm not buying into this, he's feeding the kids, not focused on football. I don't know. I know what I think, but I'll let you all have your say. There's something not right with Rashford. And I don't know what it I think I know what it is. But what's your thoughts? Or do you think different?
I don't think there's something not right with him. I think he's going through a little bit of a dip in form. And I think his final decision isn't great, and that's what's holding him back. And I also think he needs to be played in his favoured position, which is the left wing, and stop being chopped and changed about. He also doesn't. I don't think he's got at the moment. Obviously, Martial has been kind of moved out of that number 9. It's not great. Sometimes it's Greenwood on the right. Sometimes it's not. They're changing that front three all the time. So the front three at the end of last season, I know Rashford wasn't great at the end of that season anyway. They've got. I feel like the front three don't have a lot of chemistry whatsoever at the moment. So everything that's getting played is like they're not in sync with each other. I think Ollie really needs to either play a consistent team, but then make the subs when he needs to make the subs. Bring Dan James on if you want in the 70th minute, if you want to add some speed into the game, if Rashford or Martial's not playing well. But you've got to pick the consistent players, but you've also got to give him, I generally do think you've got to give him some rest. Like I think that's why Bruno's gone a little bit off form. I think he's kind of played Rashford and Bruno into the ground, and they do deserve some games off, because we often see them once they have had a break and they come in and they look really good. And I think that's a little bit of a problem as well.
Ricky, Rashford, I know you've not been a biggest fan of Rashford. What is it that's wrong with him? Is it? I mean, a few people are saying he just lacks football IQ. I personally think he's not been quite right since the injury a year ago. Some people think he's been burnt out. Some people think he's just not got it. I mean, what I would say, and Kev's right, that pass against Liverpool that we were talking about 2 weeks ago, I was convinced Solskjaer takes him in the office the next morning and says, you've got to make them passes in future. And in the last 2 weeks, we've seen him not do it again. So, you know, what's your thoughts on Ricky? Because I know you like to analyse a game. He will have been pulled up about that pass against Cavani, and yet he's done it again a few times in the game since.
Well, I think I've said numerous times, that I don't think Rashford's as good as most people seem to think he is, Mark. I mean, as far as I'm concerned, it really is as simple as that. I mean, you've just mentioned about 4 different things that, you know, everyone's looking for a reason, aren't they? You know, like you've mentioned, has he got his mind on something else that he's doing? You know, is it because of this? Is it because of that? There's all sorts of different things being put forward. And what does happen generally during his career, for me, is he scores the odd worldie, which he can do. But that's not enough. That's not enough. And I believe, and I'm sure I must have said this a few times in the past, sometimes he plays in a game where he scores a worldie, but still didn't have a particularly good game. It's just that he scored a worldie in that game, and everybody remembers that. He probably gets man of the match for that. Do you know what I mean? How many world-class tackles has a right back got to make before he gets man of the match? Do you understand what I mean? It's easier for a striker. It's so often you see a game where they give man of the match on the TV and all the pundits all are saying he's man of the match because he scored a goal. He's going to score some goals. He's playing centre forward or left wing for Man United. You know what I mean? So, yeah, I just don't think he's as good as people think he is, and I've said that for years. Mark, I think you know that.
I do remember your video, Kev. I mean, look, I disagree with Ricky on that. I see a player there, but what I will say, and I've said it for a while, and I was funny enough, was talking about it this afternoon. I remember Theo Walcott going to the World Cup in 2002, and he was the next Michael Owen. Some players don't become the next anything. They're just a good player at 18, and they stay that level until they're 32. This is the challenge for Rashford. We all know what he needs to improve on. Doesn't mean he will. He might just stay this player forever.
Yeah. I said on the fan forum yesterday, and I am not comparing Rashford to Cristiano Ronaldo, but I did say, I remember Ronaldo being at Old Trafford against Bolton, made his debut, come on, changed the game, too many step overs, you know, this, that. And I remember speaking to my mate after it, if this lad can get the final product, brush up on a few things, you know, he's going to be an absolute superstar. Ronaldo did that. The rest is history. For me, it really does come down to Rashford's final thought process.
Yeah.
The amount of times just recently, and I've only just recently really noted it, is the amount of times that I'm looking at this telly, watching United and going, he's done it again. You know, and he's just, you can see, you know, you're watching the game, and whether you think it's in the heat of the moment, why has he not slipped him in? Why has he not played him in? But like you said, you know, forget even Solskjaer taking Rashford into the office. If I was Cavani, I'd be pulling Rashford to one side and saying, listen, mate, you know, I've won the lot, mate. You know, I've scored goals everywhere. You give me the ball and I will score. It happened when Van Persie was at United. United signed Robin Van Persie, and Sir Alex Ferguson pulled in the wingers and said, listen, we've signed Van Persie. You play the ball into him. In training, you watch his runs, and we will win the league with this player in the team. And we did.
Here's a theory for you, Kev. Because I can't believe Cavani wouldn't do that. And I wonder, I mean, it's a ridiculous theory, but listen, right. Cavani looks at the bench every time he doesn't get the cross, which means Cavani's looking at the manager to sort Rashford out. Is Solskjaer the man to sort Rashford out, or is he in awe of Rashford because Rashford's this big superstar at United? Is Rashford actually getting the sit down and, you know, not telling off, but instruction he needs? Or is Solskjaer treating Rashford like he's the superstar of the team? Because he still the frustrating thing, I agree with you. I think he's so close to being this brilliant player, but he's got to sort it out. And he doesn't seem, like somebody just said then, he lives offside as well. He's always offside. He's just like, it doesn't seem to be dropping in. But I think you and me, Kev, we're probably people who think he's got it. Do you think Solskjaer needs to do? Is it more on Solskjaer really, because he is the manager?
Should be. He's the coach. If you're going to learn from one of the best in the game, Rashford should be listening to Solskjaer, and at the same time, he's going to learn off Cavani. He should be looking at Cavani in training. And the thing is, you wouldn't even class them as wingers. Rashford, Greenwood, you know, even Martial to an extent. They all want to be number 9s. And it sounds like an awful thing, but it is. They're wannabe number 9s, but they're not good enough to play number 9 for Manchester United. We've got a 33-year-old Uruguayan who's absolutely class. But for me, he's first choice number 9. So then you try to get all these other players into the team. We'll play him out on the left. We'll play him out on the right. And the balance is not right. You think of the days of going back to Giggs and Kanchelskis. You know, we had players there that worked back for the team, worked in tandem with a left and a right back. And that's how it worked, up and down the pitch, overlapping runs. We do not have that anymore because the likes of Martial, Greenwood, Rashford hang around up too far up the field. So when you lose the ball, they're not tracking back because probably in their mind, well, I'm a striker, I'm a forward player, I don't have to do that.
I saw Mo Salah today. He scored 2 fantastic goals. He's the best right winger in the league. And at 3-0 up, he's in his own penalty box winning a header. And I thought, I don't think I've ever seen Rashford and Martial doing that recently. They just don't do it. But I've got to do it. I'm going to go to Ricky, and then Beth, you can jump in and have your opinion because I haven't got much to say. I was shown a little thread from... I was actually live yesterday, Ricky, and I got somebody DM'd me with your tweet that Martial was the best player on the pitch on Wednesday. And I went, well, he's on the show tomorrow night, so we'll have a chat about that. But I'm not going to have a chat about it because I want you lot to chat amongst yourselves. But what I will say is everyone knows I'm a big fan of Martial. I gave him 1 out of 10 against Sheffield United as my player rating. I thought that was absolutely abysmal. The lack of effort, which I've always defended him for, and the passes, I thought he was absolutely abysmal. But you think he was the best player on the pitch?
I'll invite you to something, Mark. I'll invite you to set something up once COVID's completely out of the way and people might like it. I'll come to you. We'll get that game up. We'll do it as a watch-along. And I will stop it and I will show you, right? Anthony Martial in that game was perfectly adequate. Now, the difficulty that people have got, and I'm including United staff in this, is when the team is poor, it's really difficult to see. It's like the lunatics taking over the asylum. How do you pick out the ones that are right, if you understand? I mean, how do you pick the staff out, if you like? He is the one who's calm, getting hold of the ball, finding a pass. If we want to play like Liverpool are playing at the minute, apart from against us, and like City are playing at the minute, we need more players who get hold of that ball and pass it simply. And Martial, particularly when he went on the left wing, by the way, was perfectly adequate. Now, what another thing that people are getting wrong, I'm just saying he was the least bad. I'm not saying he was great. I'm not saying he was like Johan Cruyff. He was the least poor player for United, beyond any doubt for me. And I've watched the game 4 times, and I'm studying his movement. Couple of runs to the corner flag, and Bruno don't get it over the man. The man kick cuts it out. He's coming to the ball. The ball's not getting passed into his feet when he's making himself available. And he's got his man pinned. There's time and time again little things are going wrong because of his teammates. And then there's not a lot going on. Of course, and there'll probably be people saying, "What about when he did this and what about when he did that?" Of course, he's a centre forward. We're playing as a lone. He's playing as a lone striker. They've got 3 centre backs. He's playing as a lone striker, and they've got a shielding 3. So that's him there. There's 3 centre backs, and there's a shielding 3 in front. Right? Give the lad a break.
I think the issue is, Ricky, and I don't know what your thoughts are on this, is that he did go left wing, didn't he, when Cavani came on?
When he went to the left wing, honestly, we played some decent football. It's frustrating when you're a United fan, you want it to go well, but he's moving the ball around. If you remember do you remember the one when Rashford should have fired it across the 6-yard box, and there's about 4 of them attacking the 6-yard box, and he pulled it back to the edge of the box and there was nobody there. There was no possible reason that he would do that. Anybody who's played the game has got to realise we're in here. We've got to fire it across the 6-yard box. And that chance comes from Martial working the ball across the field. And other people, and I'll include Bruno in this, they're tossing the ball into the box. Martial's working it round, working options. He gives it to Wan-Bissaka. Wan-Bissaka gives it to Rashford. And Martial knows this. When he gives it to Wan-Bissaka, he's seeing the whole picture. He knows that he can be in the box by the time Rashford gets it. It's like clockwork. I give it him, he gives it him. By the time he gets it, I'll be in the box. He's proper clued up, trust me. And he's attacking that 6-yard box, and Rashford pulls it back to the edge of the box. But Cavani's attacking the 6-yard box. Martial's attacking the 6-yard box. There's somebody else in there as well. I can't remember who else wanted to fill at that stage. But I'm not saying he was Johan Cruyff. He was by far
Jordi Cruyff.
He was by far the least poor player for United on that pitch. I will swear that till I'm blue in the face, and I'm convinced that if we watched it together, I could convince you. I'm absolutely convinced.
I'm definitely going to do it, even if no one watches, because I think at the end of the day, I love Martial. I do. He's one of my favourite players, but I gave him 1 out of 10. And there's 2 things that you can't rewrite, and I want your opinion on it, because you've been on this show and you've said we need balance. I'd like Dan James on the right because he'll track back. The second goal from Sheffield United, Martial gives it up, and you don't see him in the camera again. And then there was another pass.
Yeah, you do. You see him.
There's another pass where he passes it to Cavani. Cavani don't get it, and he stands there and sort of goes, And Bruno sprints 40 yards to chase it down. And that's the thing for me. I've got sympathies with Martial. He was player of the year last year as number 9. We brought Cavani and he's back on the left wing. I don't think he wants to play on the left wing. But I think on Wednesday night, in my opinion, he showed a dissatisfaction and petulance to that shirt because his effort levels were not good enough.
It's an attitude thing.
Yeah, I've never agreed with that about Martial. I think it gets thrown at him because it gets thrown at Pogba, it gets thrown at David De Gea, it gets thrown at Bruno. I think there is an issue with foreign players in some of our fan base and the media. But on Wednesday, I always defend Martial, but I couldn't defend Martial because he didn't look interested in putting a shift in. And he wasn't the only one. Again, I would put Rashford in there. I'd put a couple, we were all shit on Wednesday night. But for me, that was the one game where I would say Martial might not have a future at United. And I've never thought that before because I was like, that worried me. As a big fan of Martial, Wednesday night worried me a lot.
Is that aimed at me, Matt?
Anybody can pick it up because I love him. I think he's a fantastic player, but
Listen,
I can't change my opinion.
On the ball, he was our best player by a country mile in that game. he might not have covered the same grass as some of the players covered. If that's the case, so be it. We need to look after the ball better. We need to play better. We need to make more opportunities. The opportunity that Rashford had to fire that ball across, that's just one instance, by the way. Those opportunities will come around a lot more if everybody else plays the football like Anthony Martial plays it. Let's concentrate. We've been speaking about going on the offensive. Beth was saying early doors, let's go for it. Let's get our players on the pitch who look after the ball better. Let's try and dominate possession. That's the way I look at it. Anthony Martial against Sheffield United, especially when he went on the left wing, because there's more space on the left wing. In the first half, he's playing as a lone striker against 3 centre-backs. Think about it. Lone striker, he's moving around to try and find space. Then he's getting in the box, and the cross might not be coming in the box, but at the same time, what chance has he got against 3 on his own? In an old-fashioned 4-4-2, you'd have, like when we had York and Cole. So if we were playing an old-fashioned 4-4-2, you might come up against a team that have got 3 centre-backs. At least you've got York and Cole, as it would have been. Like one's attacking the space between 2 centre-backs, and then one's attacking the space between the middle centre-back and the other centre-back. So they're attacking different areas of the box. So at the moment, if we played a proper 4-4-2, probably our 2 strikers who you'd have in the box would probably be Cavani and Martial. But he's in that box on his own as a number 9. You know, it must be pretty, must get you down a little bit. But, you know, the ball's not coming in anyway. How many decent crosses came in? None.
He was late on the runs many times. Many times he was late on the runs when there was crosses coming in the box. He gave the ball away as many times as everybody else. I saw him play passes and he got shoved off the ball so much. I love Martial, and I generally think this season, even though he's not been scoring as many goals, he's not been on form in front of goal. I think his overall play has been good. He's what I've always said, he's one of my favourite players. But against Sheffield United, you cannot tell me that wasn't the poorest performance you've ever seen from him. I mean, you tell me like your wingers to get back. He didn't get back at all. He lost the ball and he just stand there in the middle of the pitch while Bruno was covering his press and he was covering.
Have you seen the video?
In the deep field,
he lost the ball that led to the goal.
Yeah, you must have seen the clip that Rio's put up. You know, everyone's talking about it on Twitter.
the one where Bruno runs back.
Where they score.
That one where no one's close.
We're all saying he didn't get back. He was in our penalty area when the goal went in.
Yeah, but come on, he gave it away so many times. There's so many clips. If it was anyone else that did that, you would put a clip up of it. Come on, you've got to treat each player equally, and you cannot say that Martial was the best player on the pitch the other night, because he just wasn't. And he's had so many opportunities to be number 9 this season. Ollie is giving him opportunities and he's not taking them, and he's not played well. Cavani's played better. Therefore, Cavani gets in at number 9. And if because of that, I don't know if it's true. I don't know if it's just out of form. But if because of that, he's going to have an attitude, as people say, I don't know if that's the case. Or he's going to not put as much effort in to the team because he wants to be striker when you've not taken that opportunity. That isn't what a United player should be. A hungry United player should be. You've got to be willing to put in the work to get back into that position. And I don't see that from him at the moment. I hope he can get back on form. But at the end of the day, you can't be expecting to start every game as number 9 when you've got 2 goals this season and you've been given as much of an opportunity as everybody else.
I think his body language against Sheffield United was one of the more frustrating things for me. And I think it's happened again. I think you look at Martial, you know he is not happy that Cavani's there, and that's not how it should be played. You know, it's a team sport. No matter where you play in that team, you do a job. The exact same thing happened when Ibrahimovic come to United. And yes, he took the number 9 off Martial. I think it put his nose out of joint. And Martial went through a bad spell then as well. I do not think he was happy with that. And I think the exact same thing is happening now. I think Martial thinks he's good enough to play number 9 for United. And personally, I don't think he is. I think his best position is on the left, cutting him from the left.
The thing is, though, he can still be a goal-scoring great left winger. Mane, for example, Son.
It's gone off at quite a tangent, this. We were talking about the game against Sheffield United. Let's put that behind us. You don't think he played well. I'm not saying he played fantastic. I'm just saying he wasn't as bad as anybody else. But you've gone off on a tangent there, as if I'm saying like he's got to be our number 9 every week. I agree with you that Cavani's the better number 9. So you've gone off at a tangent here. It's like you try to stick the daggers in me and so forth.
No.
I agree with you that Cavani is our best number 9 without a shadow of a doubt, right? But I also think Anthony Martial's our best left winger, and I also think that Anthony Martial was easily our best number 9 until we signed Cavani. You know what I mean? So
left wing than Rashford then?
Miles better.
At the moment.
Even
I'd just like either of them to put a cross in the box. That's what I don't like. I think you can have Martial on the left and Adama Traore on the right. And people laugh at me, but Adama Traore puts more crosses in than any right winger and takes his man on. I don't think we used to have Kev, Ricky, you'll know, Beth, I don't know, you might be too young, but we used to have a lad called Antonio Valencia.
Yeah,
the best winger in the world, but for a couple of years, he'd beat his man and whip a cross in. It wasn't always the best cross, but we're crying out for that. We're crying out for it. We've got no wingers to do that.
Don't get me wrong. I think Martial has all the ability in the world. I think he's one of the most technically talented players at our club, but you cannot be a consistent player in the Man United team if you're not going to produce it week in, week out. And he's 25 now. He's got to start producing these performances week in, week out. Or like you said, Mark, like his time might come to an end. You don't know, because he's getting older now, and there's people pushing for that first team spot. And as we saw him on the bench yesterday, he's going to start getting pushed out if he doesn't start putting more effort into his performances. And that's just the way it is.
Fans are definitely turning on him, Kev. I'll tell you that.
Let's not forget, when Mourinho was in charge at United, I think it was no secret that I think he would have actually sold Martial.
Yeah. So
it does make you think. I am not criticising him footballing wise. I love him. I think he's fantastic on his day. But, did Mourinho see something in him where he thought, do you know what? When it comes down to it, can I count on you? When we're in the trenches and we need to really, dig out a result or whatever. It does make you think maybe, Mourinho did have a point.
Here we go then, because I know we do this every week, but it's probably one of the most relevant weeks to do it. Southampton on Tuesday night. One thing I would say is Liverpool have just beat West Ham and Spurs with an injury crisis. Arsenal had 3 of their better players out yesterday. We can't moan about players out. We ain't got anyone out. Brandon Williams and bloody Phil Jones. Oh shit, we're up shit creek here. We've got nobody out. Nobody's out. So what do you think is the? Forget the back four, because we know he might play Lindelof and Babe, like Mint Maguire, whatever, and we know it's Wan-Bissaka and Shaw and De Gea. But from midfield forward, what should we be doing? Start off with you, Ricky. What would you do for a midfield forward? What do you think is the best to get out of United at the moment? Because we need goals and we need to start, picking up some wins again.
You mean just for this week or in general?
Southampton
might not be fit, mightn't he? I'm thinking I'd have somebody in my team, but I don't think he's going to be fit.
No, I think he'll have. It's only a stomach bug, isn't it? Probably 24 hours. So yeah, put him in.
Right. I would. I'd put Juan Mata on the right. I'd put McTominay and Matic in the middle. I'd put Martial on the left. I'd put Van der Beek at number 10, and I'd put Cavani at number 9.
Well, we know there's no chance of that.
I know, but you've asked me what I think.
I know. That's why I like it.
I know what I think he'll do, but he doesn't know as well as I know.
Hey, Wally. Well, no, I don't think anyone's going to what Ollie's going to do. I can tell you what Ollie's going to do, so I respect that, definitely. Kev, what would you do?
Do you know, I'd go with exactly how he set up against Arsenal yesterday.
Tommy Fred.
I think a lot of people... if anything, against Southampton. Yeah.
I hate him on the wing. I do.
I think he can do a job there. What the point I was going to make about McTominay is, I think it showed yesterday when he actually went off how much United missed him, and a lot of United fans slag him off and that. But McTominay and Fred work in tandem, brilliant together. I think they complement each other. Even early on in that game yesterday, McTominay spraying passes about and that. I thought it was just a shame that he went off really. But then obviously Solskjaer had different ideas by making the Martial switch.
Beth, what would you do?
play Fred and Pogba at CDM. I'd have Van der Beek on the right, Cavani up front, Rashford on the left. Greenwood to come on off the bench would be my first sub if Rashford or Cavani's not working well. But I love the Fred and Pogba combination, and I think that if Van der Beek's playing on the right, he can also track back as well and help the midfield out and help Bruno. Oh yeah, Bruno is Cam. And help Bruno in that midfield, and it'll get us more control in that midfield. And I think it's time for Van der Beek to get a chance. If he can't get a chance now, when can he get a chance? And I'd really like to see him playing, but you can't drop Pogba or Fred in there. And I think we're really in need of a CDM. Matic against Sheffield United was just, don't get me wrong, everyone was poor, but I genuinely think he's finished. Like he's not up to it whatsoever anymore. I wouldn't mind seeing Mata come off the bench every now and again, to be honest. I think Juan Mata technically is one of the best players if at the club, and I think he could still do maybe a little bit of a job, but for the team and the players we've got now, I think that's what you've got to go with.
I would go with nearly the same team as you. I would go with Fred and Pogba. I'd put Bruno, obviously, Cavani at 9. Van der Beek I would put on the right. I think he could do a very good job there. And I think against Southampton, it's going to be about possession again. I think Southampton will be very similar to Arsenal. They'll get behind the ball and they'll look to hit us on the break. And I'll put Martial on the left and I'll drop Rashford. And I will put Diallo on the bench. And I would say, if you put in a shit performance on either wing, Diallo's coming on for the last 20 minutes. And I wouldn't start Rashford. I think Rashford needs taken out of the team, have a word and say, look, last couple of games, you've not been as bad as some people, but you've been bad and you've got to be better. So you're on the bench and you can work your way back into the team, because I think that's the problem with United at the moment. I think we've believed our own hype. We were top of the league. We're 6 points ahead of Liverpool. We've lost to Sheffield United, which is the worst result we've had. I mean, it's a bloody embarrassment. Arsenal's not a terrible result, but there were still 1 or 2 performances that weren't good enough. And I think a few players need a boot up the arse. I do. I think too many players, we're playing favourites all the time. I can predict the team every bloody game. I know what he's going to do because he always reverts to favourites. And I think a few players stop using the nicknames and start treating them as pawns in a game of chess, and drop a couple of players. Stick a rocket up their arse and start making people realise that you're not starting every game. And he did it with Martial at the weekend. I agree with Kev that he was dropped. I would take Rashford out of the team on Tuesday night, put him on the bench, and I'd put Diallo on the bench, and I'd make that first team think, shit, Rashford's on the bench, Diallo's on the bench. I might be pulled if I don't have a good game. But I certainly would bring Van der Beek in, because I cannot understand why he's not getting a chance. And I think I don't mind people not getting a chance if the team's performing well, which we've had to put up with for a few weeks. But the last 2 games, even if it's Dan James, I've been knocking on the door, to be honest.
I also think as well, one of the problems we have with attacking teams is when we play out from the back, we play out of the back so slowly. Like the amount of touches we take, we just invite the opposition onto us to press, and all of our space gets closed down because no one moves. So it's so hard for us to work it up the pitch and break and keep possession. I think that's where our main problem stems from, keeping possession. Harry Maguire's taking about 7,000 touches at the back, just inviting pressure on. I don't like it whatsoever. Our pace in passing needs to go up a lot if we're going to start breaking teams down, because that's how you do it. You've got to be quick with your passing and quick with your movement. And we're a bit static and slow at the moment. And that is something I really want to see an improvement on, because it's been like that for a while now. We know we can counter-attack, but we need to work on keeping possession, quick possession.
Here's a good question. I've saved the best till last. Just quickly, Ashley Jenkins. How can I be biased towards a player that's won 4 Premier League Players of the Month in the last 9? Not Man United, Premier League Player of the Month. He's had a bad month. He's not winning it in January. I'll put my hands up. He's not had a very good month. And that could be burnout, fed up, God knows. But I'm not biased towards a player that's good. He's absolutely fundamental to our team. And I put my hands up. He's not been good the last couple of games, but he's fundamental to our team. It can't be biased when he's factually been our best player for the last year. But what I want to ask everybody now is, and somebody asked me specifically to bring this into the show, and go with it, obviously go any way you want, and the live comments can get involved. Has Ole Gunnar Solskjaer hit his ceiling at Manchester United? And it's not a bad ceiling. It's not quite Michelangelo, but it's not bad. 3rd place last year. We're in 2nd place at the moment. I suppose the question that was asked was, can Solskjaer be the manager that takes United to titles, or is this as good as it gets? And we'll start with you, Ricky.
That's a great question. It's a great question. I would suggest the reason it's a tricky question is because of the ceilings at Liverpool and City of it. I said this before the ball was kicked this season, and it was looking like it could happen this. I said before the ball was kicked this season that we need City and Liverpool to slip back to the mid-80s points-wise. You know, they've been getting mid-90s and even better. I said, if that, you know, we ain't going to win the league if that happens. But if it slip back to the mid-80s, we've got a chance, and we still are with a chance. And there still is a chance that it's going to be won by a points tally of in the mid-80s. But I don't believe we'll ever be a team under Ollie that can get into the mid-90s like they can do. If that happens again next season, it can't be us. But so I'd rather answer it on a basis of points totals. And I would say that we can get into the mid-80s, maybe even this season, let alone maybe next season. But would it be enough in this day and age? I'm not so sure.
Okay, so basically, what you're saying is, if others drop, we can contend. But if they stay at the level they've been, he can't get us there.
I don't think so. No.
So effectively, you're saying he's a good coach, but he's never going to be the level of a Pep or a Klopp.
What they've done is it's not really a heavy criticism of him. No. What they've done in the last couple of years is it's astonishing. It really is. You know, and the way City were doing it, I thought it was virtually impossible for any team to contend with them. And then Klopp has come and gone and won it. We've got 90-odd points 2 years in a row, haven't they? So what those two managers are doing is just unbelievable. So, you know, it seems like a dream to me that we could get, you know, not just Ollie. If we got another manager, I don't think it's going to be hard to get 90-odd points. It's just astonishing tally of points.
And I think this is why it's a great question. I'll go to Kev next. This is why it's a great question, because it's about where you are as a fan. Some people will look at this and go, "Oh, they're moaning about Ollie again." I just said, has Ollie hit his ceiling? His ceiling's 3rd place and 2nd at the moment, but it ain't 1st. Now, it depends what you are as a United fan, because is 2nd and 3rd what United should be going for? Because I think actually the Glazers might be quite happy with that. Get the Champions League money. They're the prats we've got in charge. But as fans, some people believe, and I'm certainly one, that United should be the best. And therefore, the question is, Kev, is Ollie good enough from what you've seen, or potentially good enough to take us beyond? And Ricky said that. Can he take us toe-to-toe with Pep and City and all the money they've got? Can he take us toe-to-toe with the passion and drive that Klopp's got? Or is it, with the best we can hope for under Ollie, is the best of the rest?
Klopp and Guardiola are streets ahead of Ole Gunnar Solskjaer. We've got a manager who's basically on the job, learning it at what I would class as the biggest club in the world. Has he been backed in the transfer market? People can look and say, yeah, he got Maguire, Wan-Bissaka, he got Bruno. He identified last season that he wanted a right winger or a winger. And I think it was, you know, the likes of Jadon Sancho, Grealish. Did we get that big name? No, did we? So you have to look and think Solskjaer isn't being backed in that sense. So he has got his hands tied. Sir Alex Ferguson had him tied to an extent. We sold Cristiano Ronaldo and replaced him with Antonio Valencia, Obertan, and Michael Owen on a free transfer that summer. So this has been going on for ages under the Glazers. Do I think that Solskjaer can win a title? I would love it, as Kevin Keegan would say. But he will never, ever, and Manchester United will never have a better chance of winning the league this year than any other season. And that's down to injuries at Man City, the fact that Aguero's out coming towards the end, Kevin De Bruyne is injured. You look at Liverpool, they're playing 2 central midfielders at centre-back. If we can't do it this season, I do fear, because he won't be backed. Next season, Manchester City will kick on. They'll replace Aguero with somebody, you know, an 18, 90 million pound striker. And And every other team will not stand still, and we'll still be debating this because of our owners and the way that Manchester United is managed. And that is my fear. It's almost like this season, we can really win it because of what's going on, the pandemic, everything. But if we don't, next season, I'm telling you, everybody will click into gear and we could get left behind.
Beth?
I think Ollie's brought on the team a lot. I think he's done a really good job of man management. I think he's one of the best man managers that we've had in the club for obviously since Sir Alex. And I think he's done a good job of getting rid of the deadwood. He's got a good job of making the team morale better. And I think he has brought on the play. Definitely. We've seen glimpses of us playing a lot more attacking football, which is what we want to see. But the way his game management is what I think holds him back as a manager. And I don't think, obviously as United, I think we want to be going for the top spot every season and we want to be trying to win the title. I'm not sure if he is the man that can do that for us at the moment. But I also think he does need another transfer window to get the players in, and then we can judge him, because he didn't really get anyone he wanted this season. And obviously he's not at the level of Pep and Klopp, but they've had many transfer windows now. They've signed great players that they've most of their players in their team are all their own signings. Until Ollie's got that, you can't really say if he's going to be a title winning manager. When he's got all of his players in that team, and I want to see how we're playing then, that's when I can say if I think he will be. At this moment in time, I don't see it. I don't, just purely because I've not seen enough improvement in the coaching style, the back line, our patterns of play, game management. I've not seen it enough. But I want him to turn into that manager that's going to take us all the way. And I think you've got to at least give him a chance in another transfer window.
I like this comment from Matthew Gartel. This is as good as it gets under the Glazers. And I think that's the big thing. And Kev has mentioned it as well. The reality is I'd like to see Solskjaer with a Sancho, with an Upamecano, and with a proper CDM. And then we would naturally get better. Whether we could get what Ricky said up into the 90 points is a different thing. And, the thing with Solskjaer is that he is a work in progress, as is Carrick, as is McKenna. I think it is a bit too friendly and familiar with the way he treats some of the players. I think he does have favouritism. I don't like that. I'd like to see a bit of a sterner manager, but he ain't got the experience to be that. My hope is that there is another gear. It's a bit like Marcus Rashford, actually. We're hoping Rashford's got another gear, because if he hasn't, he's just going to be a good player who has bad games. And I think Solskjaer's a bit like that. He can have good games. He can get to a semi-final, but can he win a final? He can get to second, he can get to first, but how long can he stay there? I hope there's another gear. But to go, even if there isn't, if there is another gear there, he's going to need the board to give him that gear. And we need 2 or 3 players adding to that team. So has he hit his ceiling? He might have hit his ceiling because Mourinho hit his ceiling. Van Gaal hit a ceiling. And the ceiling isn't necessarily their limitations. It's what the club's limitations are. But I don't think the season's as bad as people think it is just because we've lost 2 games. I still think at the start of the season, I thought we wouldn't get top 4. I thought we'd get 5th. So, but the next 2 games, and when we're doing this,
there's still time.
Well, I think next Sunday when we do the show, we'll play Southampton and Everton, and those 6 points, however they go, will be really key.
It will be, and I think as well, like you just said, Ollie's kind of at the same point as the team. They're a kind of young, inexperienced team, and that does show in the fact we've not been able to. We bottle semi-finals, we've bottled big matches before. I don't think that mindset and that kind of experience is there yet for us to go on and win the big things, but it needs to come sooner rather than later, because we've been on this kind of path for a while now. There has been massive improvement under Ollie, don't get me wrong, but he needs to win. I think he's got to win the FA Cup this year for me. He's got to win something, because that's something he's not done yet. As much as he has improved us, he's not won anything, and even Mourinho and Van Gaal won something, so he's got to do that.
But the worrying thing is, right, and we judge Manchester United on success. Mark said earlier, and I think it's absolutely bang on, I'm starting to worry at the fact that the owners now will probably be looking and going, we're in the top 4, and that's all that matters. It's almost like that Arsenal mentality of, as long as we finish top 4, Champions League money, That's all that matters at the minute, and it's sad, but
you're always up against that, aren't you? Because the fans, some fans want and demand and remember where United should be, but if the owners don't, you get this conflicting frustration and this standoff. And whatever anyone says about coming into the season, and Cavani was a good signing, but it wasn't a right winger and it wasn't a centre back, and that's what he wanted, and he didn't get it. And he still got us where we are this season. And you just wonder that if he'd got those, we might still be in the same position, but we might actually be in a better position. So
I think Man City and Chelsea are both going to spend big this summer as well. Again, I think City's going to defo spend a lot of money, and they're going to back the new manager Tuchel. So I don't know if the United's board are going to be able to keep up with that. Like, let's be honest, they're probably not. Like, they'll probably make they've got to make at least one decent signing in the summer, but compared to this money that Chelsea and City spend, it's hard for an inexperienced manager like Ollie to do it when he's not getting the players. That, because I don't think Van der Beek or Tellers were his signings. Probably not Cavani as well, even though he's been a good signing. And obviously Pep says he wants a new defence. They buy him a new defence. It's one of them.
And that's the thing with Cavani. I asked this question many a times. What was Cavani a panic buy at the time? And it's worked out well, don't get me wrong. But at the same time, do you wait till the last hour of the transfer window, to sign a player who's been parked up for about 6 months out of contract? And then Man United will spoon feed you all this stuff on their website going, he was the man that Ollie always wanted. No, he wasn't, because you could have got him 6 months ago, had him in pre-season, but we've got to sit there and go, oh, was he? Right. No, he wasn't. He was free, and that's why we got him.
Come out and speak after the game. I'm just there, like, the stuff they put on social media. I'm just like, stop talking crap. Like, it's honestly, it is annoying.
Anyway, we've reached the end of the show. Thanks everyone for coming on. Enjoyed that. Some good bits in there. I hope everyone else has enjoyed it as well. Thanks for coming on, Ricky.
Thanks a lot, mate. Thanks for having me.
Beth?
Yeah, thanks for having me. Hopefully we can pick up some points and not drop off this week.
It's only Tuesday, isn't it? We're playing again. And thanks for coming on, Kev.
Always a pleasure, never a chore.
And thanks everyone for watching. Hope you've enjoyed the show. Smash a like on the video, and transfer deadline day tomorrow. So we'll be signing Sancho, Upamecano, and Declan Rice apparently. So get a good night's sleep. Speak to you in a bit.